Engage in combat fully determined to die, and you will be alive. Wish to survive in the battle, and you will surely meet death. Said Yosogi Kenshin, one of the most powerful daimyos of the Sengoku period. Loyalty and devotion lead to bravery. Bravery leads to the spirit of self-sacrifice. The spirit of self-sacrifice creates trust in the power of love. Said Morihei Ueshiba, the legendary Japanese martial artist and the founder of the martial art of Aikido. The Four Oaths. Never be late with respect to the way of the warrior. Be useful to the Lord. Be respectful to your parents. Get beyond love and grief. Exist for the good of man. Said Yamamoto Tsunetomo, a samurai of the Saga domain in Hizen province. If the night is young and the bed is warm, it's probably a good idea to waggle a little, said a PLA soldier to another PLA soldier. Nah, the last quote is fake. Dirty little habits of the little emperors of PLA don't matter anyway. But the first three quotes are enough to establish the warrior spirit of the Japanese. And Japan is mobilizing its troops, 100,000 of them. Hi and welcome. This is TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group, and I am your host Sanbir Anotra. In this video, I will tell you about Japan's plans to save Taiwan from China. Let's begin. For over a year now, China has been harassing Japan and Taiwan in the East China Sea. But gloves are coming off now, and Japan seems to be ready to hit back at the paper dragon. In fact, Japan is about to carry out a large-scale military exercise with China in mind. In a clear display of its military firepower, Japan is mobilizing 100,000 soldiers for its ground self-defense forces' largest military maneuvers since 1993. The exercise will also involve 20,000 vehicles and 120 aircrafts and private ships. The Japanese Navy and Air Force and the US military troops stationed in Japan will also provide support to the Ground Self-Defense Force troops. The Japanese Ground Self-Defense Force personnel are going to start training from Wednesday till late November. The aim of the big military maneuver is to strengthen Japan's military preparedness while piling pressure on China to counter its aggressive and expansionist maritime activity. The locations of the upcoming exercises have been strategically chosen. Kagoshima Prefecture, one of the venues of the upcoming military exercises, is located at the southern tip of Japan's Kyushu Island. Kagoshima Prefecture lies about 893 kilometers east of China's Shanghai and also at a very short distance to Taipei. So, the purpose of the upcoming military exercise is clear. Japan will protect its own interests as well as those of Taiwan. This is why it has picked up a location close to both China and Taiwan. From a Japanese perspective, Taiwan holds a lot of strategic importance. It is located in close proximity to both Japan and China. And if Chinese forces are able to capture Taiwan, then it would leave Japan more or less surrounded by China. Therefore, Japan is linking up its own security interests with those of Taiwan in its military strategy. Japanese Defense Minister Kishi Nobuo gave an interview to the Mainichi Shimbun on Tuesday. He made it clear that Tokyo cannot stay outside the developments in Taiwan, as both Japan and Taiwan shared universal values like freedom and democracy. He also said that Taiwan is located at a short distance from Japan, and therefore Japan cannot ignore what happens in Taiwan. Nobuo said that the fate of Taiwan is important for Japan's security as well as for international peace and stability. Nobuo's message is clear. China is the main culprit in the region, and Japan won't let it invade the island nation of Taiwan. Japan is increasing the effectiveness and operational efficiency of its self-defense forces and is practically preparing for a warlike situation in the Taiwan Strait if China makes any reckless move to take on Taiwan. At the same time, Japan is using a major show of military strength to deter any adverse actions by China. Kishi Nobuo, the younger brother of former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, also expressed concern about the lack of transparency in China's disproportionate defense budget, which is 4 times higher than that of Japan. Japanese military exercises and Nobuo's remarks centered around Taiwan aren't a sudden development. Japan has been growing increasingly supportive of Taiwan for quite some time now. Earlier this year, US President Joe Biden and Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga issued a joint statement calling for peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. This was the first such US-Japan statement mentioning Taiwan since 1969. The Japanese Defense White Paper underscored the importance of stability in the Taiwan Strait for the security of Japan and international peace. Japan's Defense White Paper released this year grayed Taiwan out of China's map and its combat theater commands. At the Tokyo Olympics, an anchor of the Japanese government-owned public broadcaster NHK introduced Taiwan's team as Taiwan instead of the obligatory Chinese Taipei at the opening ceremony. In March this year, according to Japanese government sources, Japanese and US defense chiefs decided in a meeting in Tokyo to work closely together in the event of a military conflict between China and Taiwan. Japan has signaled that it may support Taiwan's bid to enter the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership or CPTPP, an 11-member trade bloc led by Tokyo in which China has been denied entry. With its upcoming military exercises, Japan is making one thing clear: the One China policy doesn't mean anything for Tokyo now. In fact, Japan is already denying the notion of any inherent oneness between Taiwan and China. Tokyo is going as far as defending Taiwan in case of a China-Taiwan military conflict in order to preserve the island nation's sovereignty.